What you're seeing on your screen right now is the largest video game on planet Earth. Yep, you heard me right. There's no catch, no fine print, no gotcha moment. This game is currently beating every single other video game in the world in terms of concurrent player counts right now. A Roblox game called Grow a Garden. And we desperately need to talk about this game and what it's doing to not just Roblox, but the entire gaming and content landscape. It's a game that's arguably changing how developers approach game dev, and it's even affected digital media in its own unique and somewhat concerning way. So let's talk about that. Grow a Garden is an incredibly new Roblox game. It hasn't even been out for 6 months, and it's already skyrocketed to the number 5 most played Roblox game in the history of the site, beating out Murder Mystery 2, a game that's been out for over 10 years. I'll be honest, when I first played Grow a Garden when it came out, I was indifferent towards it. The gameplay, while incredibly satisfying, wasn't anything too insane to write home about. The core gameplay loop of Grow a Garden goes something like this. Every 5 minutes, your seed shop will restock with a % chance to stock super rare seeds like the sugar apple or elder strawberry. You buy these seeds with money and you sell the plants back to the farmer to earn more. This cycle repeats itself every 5 minutes, and there you go. That's the entire core gameplay of Grow a Garden. Now, if that's all the game had to offer, it would not be the most popular video game in the world, now would it? Grow a Garden has a lot of tangentially related mechanics in its design that elevate the core loop so that it's always fresh, like a freshly planted garden. Weather events, new weekly event mechanics, and whatever the hell Jandel decides to do every Saturday morning leads people to develop a phenomenon called FOMO, or fear of missing out. FOMO is by far the strongest tactic that games like Grow a Garden use to keep their player base. I'm sure you've heard the term before, but for those of you in the back, a prime example of FOMO in this case is the very seed store itself. Because there's a % chance to stock the best seeds, you don't know when it will happen. It could happen right after you give up and leave the game. We wouldn't want that, now would we? I don't believe that FOMO is inherently malicious. We'll get to what I don't particularly like about Grow a Garden later in this video, but FOMO is a piece of the Grow a Garden puzzle that helps explain why the game is so popular. On top of these tactics, Grow a Garden has other mechanics in place to keep the gameplay fresh. This comes in the form of exceedingly rare modifiers that can be placed on your crops. Crops can become wet if it rains, windstruck if a tornado sweeps through your garden, or even covered in sand if a sudden sandstorm blows through. These modifiers act as multipliers towards your crops, enhancing their overall value and rarity. Some modifiers are pretty common, like the aforementioned wet modifier. However, there are other modifiers like a disco that can only be applied by Jandel, the owner of the game, during one of his weekly admin abuse sessions to boost everyone's crops. Some of these modifiers are impossibly rare and can lead to ridiculously expensive crops. There was one guy I ran into while recording that had this bone flower that was worth $1 billion. Like, oh my god, dude, really? But these modifiers aren't the only way to earn buckets of money for your farm. The weekly events that happen in this game also give it insane replayability. At the time of recording footage for this video, the current weekly event was this pig chef who would ask you to cook him specific meals. Every hour, he would crave a new meal, and if you cooked it, he would give you a special reward. The rarer the meal, the better the rewards. Events like this, I think, give Grow a Garden its mainstream appeal. Every week, it's a new game for you to play, where all of your progress you've made previously is still valuable. However, that's really where my positives for this game end, because it's painfully obvious that Grow a Garden is a Do Big Studios game. That's right, our arch nemesis Do Big Studios is back and bigger than ever. After buying the game and flexing it on their website, Grow a Garden has been, well, what I can only describe as fishified. You guys remember Fish, right? That game that had like 400,000 concurrent players before Do Big Studios bought it, turned it into a complete train wreck, and then it went down to like 10,000 concurrent players? Well, it should hopefully be very obvious as to why this happened. Fish went from a very honest and enjoyable fishing sim to an over-monetized, bloated cash grab that sacrificed player enjoyment for profit. There's no doubt in my mind that Do Big saw their mistake with Fish and sought to not replicate it. Right? Surely Do Big would wake up and start prioritizing the players, right? Nah. Yeah, this right here is by far my #1 complaint about Grow a Garden. Robux gambling. The game mechanic that just won't die. For a steep 200 Robux, you can buy one of these rotating exotic seed packs for a ludicrously low chance to unbox the rarest seeds. My 200 Robux that I spent for this video netted me exactly one onion, a plant that I could harvest once and then it was permanently gone. Amazing stuff. Robux gambling is by far the most disgusting game mechanic that any game could implement, and it is all over these do big games. I've been very critical of games like Pet Simulator 99 and really any big games project in the past because of their incessant need to put gambling in their games. But Do Big is so much more abrasive and blunt with their inclusions. Just take a look at this GUI. Does it not just scream, hey, come gamble your Robux here, kids? No child is going to be able to understand just how damaging this design is, and it's incredibly shameful for Do Big to continue to implement mechanics like this into their games. They clearly learned nothing from Fish, and I can only imagine it's a matter of time before Grow a Garden faces a similar fate. But what's almost worse is the impact that Grow a Garden has had on the larger Roblox platform, how it's affected the way that games are made on the site. The most visually obvious way is the rebirth of stud building. Everything in Grow a Garden is made of studs. The pets, the crops, the upgrades, everything is studs. This is a very classic Roblox look, and in literally any other circumstance, I would be all for it. But there's something just so empty about Grow a Garden's visuals. It probably has something to do with the fact that the entire map is a single green base plate with 6 plots of land on it. I mean, would it kill you guys to add a couple rocks, or maybe like a nice stream in the middle, or just anything to liven the place up a bit? This stud style has been replicated in many different games since Grow a Garden's initial blow up. The most notable example of this is Steal a Brain Rot. Oh, what do you know? It's another Do Big game. Great, love it. Which, by the way, isn't even grammatically correct. You can't steal a brain rot. Brain rot is like an all-encompassing term, not an individual noun. No one has pointed this out yet, and it's really bothering me. I would talk about Steal a Brain Rot more in depth in this video, but I've literally never played it before and have absolutely zero experience with it, so I'm just gonna leave that right there for now. Now, I personally like the stud style of building. Currently, the big popular thing to hate for no reason is quote-unquote retro slop, which kind of started out making sense as the utter destruction of the classic Roblox style and morphing it into whatever this is. But at this point, like all internet terminology, it's been completely watered down to just describing everything that uses this style of building. Oh, but only projects that I don't like that use the old Roblox art style. Those are retro slop. The ones I do like, those aren't retro slop. But Grow a Garden? That's retro slop, dude. Nice. I originally planned to make an entire video talking about retro slop, but at this point, anything I could possibly add to the conversation has already been added, so there's literally no reason to bother. And then there's the gameplay. What stood out to me about Grow a Garden almost immediately was just how simple the game was in terms of its core mechanics. Planting seeds, selling items, buying new seeds, they're all like 2 clicks each. There's very little actual mechanical gameplay in Grow a Garden. I mean, hell, most of the game is spent AFK, and it even encourages you to not play it by including the grows offline function. And what do you know, a ton of games nowadays have this X mechanic offline functionality, and it makes sense. If that increases engagement, if that's what Grow a Garden is doing to be successful, why would you as a developer not put it in your game? Look, as a YouTuber, I don't understand the inner workings and politics of Roblox game dev. I'm learning, slowly, but I'm nowhere near ingrained enough in the space to really understand the ins and outs of it. But what I do understand is the ins and outs of YouTube and the process of growing a channel. Grow a channel. What I'm seeing with Grow a Garden draws direct parallels to what's going on with YouTube and Mr. Beast. Wait, I know that sounds like a stretch, but just hear me out, okay? I promise this goes somewhere. Mr. Beast is the largest and most successful YouTuber in the world. He is the gold standard, whether you want to believe it or not. He sets the standard for what goes viral on this website. This, naturally, caused everyone to suddenly start making videos in the same general style of Mr. Beast, the most engaging videos they could possibly make. This typically comes in the form of blisteringly fast-paced videos with basically zero intro or build-up, and it doesn't matter the niche. Gamers, IRL creators, even tech reviewers all show the mark of the beast. Now, I don't want people to get the wrong idea here. I don't blame anybody trying to emulate what Mr. Beast does. If I was more dependent on YouTube for my income, I'd be cracking open the Mr. Beast playbook way more often than I do now. But it gets to a point, right? Can we all just agree that it does indeed get to a point where the emulation of Mr. Beast becomes too much? It's my belief that a similar thing is happening on Roblox right now, and the parallels between the two platforms are far more numerous than I first thought. Roblox games have thumbnails, they have metrics that look shockingly similar to YouTube Studio, a prioritization on engagement and efficiency. These are all things that YouTube videos also need to prioritize to succeed on this platform. So of course it would make sense that the same applies to Roblox. Grow a Garden is Mr. Beast. So that begs the question, do I hate Grow a Garden? Do I think that the negatives that this game has outweigh the positives? Well, like many topics I cover on this channel, it's complicated, it's multifaceted, it's different. On the one hand, a Roblox game becoming the largest video game in the world is only further proving that Roblox and future platforms like it are the future of gaming. Guys, video games cost $80. The Switch 2 is like $500. The barrier of entry for gaming is higher than it's ever been in terms of cost, so it's a no-brainer that any sane consumer would gravitate towards a website like Roblox, where every game is free and you can play them on your smartphone. However, the game has horrible design choices in it, the inclusion of Robux gambling, a system that I could never in good faith support. I hate things about Grow a Garden for the same reason I hate things about Pet Simulator 99. The main difference here is that Grow a Garden is actually doing some good for Roblox, whereas Pet Simulator 99 has just brought it down. But there are more things about Grow a Garden that rub me the wrong way. I haven't even mentioned the fact that if you go on YouTube and search Grow a Garden, the first things you're most likely going to be fed are allegedly scam live streams where the streamer will promise their audience free stuff if they subscribe. Is that directly Grow a Garden's fault? No, not really. But it's just another branch of this core issue that games like Grow a Garden have. Much like YouTube, if you want to grow a channel that lasts, you can't buy your audience. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.